Toxic Marriage, The Final Verdict. Part 3, The Final Judgment. The courthouse was packed. The tension was heavier than ever. Everyone wanted to know how the toxic saga of Sarah and Daniel would end. Sarah sat silently, her hands clasped tightly, eyes fixed on the judge's bench. Across from her, Daniel looked restless, his face pale, his suit crumpled, his arrogance shattered. The storm of lies he had built around himself was now nothing but ashes. But Daniel wasn't done. He was cornered, and cornered men are dangerous. The last defense. Daniel's lawyer made one final plea. "My client is not perfect, Your Honor," he said, his voice echoing in the courtroom. "But marriage is complicated. He deserves fairness, not destruction." Daniel stood, trembling, but his voice was still defiant. "Everything she said has been twisted." But Sarah's lawyer was ready. He rose, eyes blazing with quiet fire. "This is not about revenge. This is about freedom from years of manipulation, betrayal, and cruelty. Sarah deserves peace. She deserves justice." The judge's face remained unreadable. The stranger in the shadows. Just as closing arguments ended, the courtroom door creaked open. The same shadowy figure Sarah had seen days earlier stepped inside. A tall man in a dark coat, carrying a folder. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. "Your Honor," the man said firmly, "I have evidence." Whispers erupted. The judge allowed him forward. He laid the folder on the desk. Inside were photographs of Daniel with not one, but 3 mistresses. Records of offshore bank accounts, secret investments made in other women's names. The courtroom gasped. Daniel's face turned ghostly white. Sarah realized in horror she hadn't even known the full truth. The collapse. Daniel lost control. "You set me up!" he screamed, pointing at Sarah. His voice cracked with rage. "You'll regret this, all of you!" Bailiffs rushed forward as he tried to lunge across the aisle. His mask was gone. The charming husband, the manipulative liar. All that remained was a broken man consumed by his own darkness. The judge's gavel thundered. "Enough! Order in the court!" Daniel was restrained, shouting curses that echoed through the chamber. For Sarah, it was both terrifying and freeing. The monster she had lived with was no longer hidden. Everyone could see him now. The verdict. The room fell silent. The judge's voice rang out, firm and final. "Daniel Reynolds, this court finds overwhelming evidence of infidelity, manipulation, and financial deception. The marriage contract is dissolved. Assets will be divided in favor of Sarah Reynolds. Custody of all joint properties and financial rights will remain with her." Daniel slumped in his chair, defeated. His empire of lies had crumbled in a single sentence. Sarah exhaled the breath she didn't realize she had been holding. Tears streamed down her face, not of pain, but of release. As reporters swarmed outside, Sarah walked through the courthouse doors into the cold evening air. Cameras flashed, voices shouted questions, but she felt strangely calm. Her marriage had ended, but so had her prison. The shadowy figure who had delivered the final evidence nodded once at her from across the street before disappearing into the crowd. She would never know who he truly was, a private investigator perhaps, or another victim of Daniel's lies. But it didn't matter. What mattered was the truth was out. Sarah whispered softly to herself, "It's over." The dark truth. The story of Sarah and Daniel wasn't just about a toxic marriage. It was about how lies multiply, how secrets rot beneath the surface, and how truth, no matter how buried, always claws its way into the light. And though Sarah won her freedom, The scars of betrayal would stay with her forever. Because some dark truths never leave. The end. The toxic marriage has ended, but the scars remain forever. Betrayal, lies, secrets. In the end, the truth always wins. This was Toxic Marriage, the Final Verdict. If you want more stories that expose the hidden darkness behind